Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Gina Bianca podcast, where we talk about life, business, entrepreneurship, the beauty industry, and beyond. My name is Gina Bianca, life and business coach, salon owner, educator, mastermind mentor, and your host of the Gina Bianca podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Network Salon. The Network Salon is a 10,000 square foot booth rental salon located in Southington, Connecticut. The Network is absolutely amazing. If you're a new guest looking for a stylist, go to our site, thenetworksalon.com, and click Book Now to be matched up with the artist for you. If you're an independent artist looking to make a move and come work with us at the Network, we do have a couple of stations left after our expansion, and then we are full. We hope to meet you soon. Visit our website, thenetworksalon.com, and click Careers to download our Network Career PDF. We can't wait to see you soon and hope you have an amazing day. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Gina Bianca podcast. Today, I'm interviewing another one of my mentors, Odette Scacco. She is amazing. She is one of the influences in my life, and she is the owner of Salon Odette in Middlebury, Connecticut. They've been open for 21 years. And Odette is a savage boss, employee-based salon owner. And the cream is rising to the top, everybody. And there are a lot of incredible salon owners, and Odette is one of them. And I'm just so excited to have this conversation with her. Number one, to catch up, because I haven't gotten to connect with her in a while, but to really share not only what it takes to be an incredible boss, leader, mentor in the salon, but just how she got here, maybe some challenges, and really just to introduce you to someone who has been a mentor for me. So Odette, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Very excited and nervous.
Oh, you're going to be amazing. It's fine. You're the best. I want to just share how we know each other, just to give some context. So back in 2012 or something, I was opening GBH and I was like all over the place. And I don't know, maybe you remember, Odette, like how we actually met. Maybe it was Facebook, but like you were like literally like an angel over my shoulder, just like kind of like she would slide into my Facebook DMs and be like, "How's it going?" And I was like, "Thank you for asking. Actually, all of this is going on. What do I do?" And she was just like an angel for me, like just giving me advice for no reason. Like you didn't have to do that. And it's not even like you came to me too. Like you were always just very nice to me and very like non-competitive, because a lot of salon owners were very competitive with me and I did not have a lot of salon owner friends, and you were just kind of always there for me, and we had stayed in touch. And I remember I was like, I don't know what to do. I need systems. Like, what are systems? And she's like, "Oh, stop by the salon." And the first time we met in person, and I remember seeing Odette and I was like, Odette is goals, because she's beautiful. Like she's just like a boss. She has like that vibe. And she had this big binder of systems that she just handed it to me. And I was just like, what the fuck? I was just like, why? I was like, why? I was just like shook. And that's kind of how we know each other. And then over the past, I think like almost 10 years now, we've kind of just been like here and there checking in. And you're just like there for people. And I like never, I mean, I have that now, but back during that time, I really appreciated that. And it was really amazing for me to just have like that little like angel mentor, like that kind of was just like there, but wasn't like all up in my business, and who never seemed like competitive with me. And it was just a really awesome presence to have in my journey starting. So that's how we know each other. Do you remember how we met? Did something happen, or was it just Facebook?
Well, I think we had a mutual friend. Was it Lindsay?
Yes.
Yes, right. Who I love. And yes. I believe you said, "Oh, I know Lindsay." And it sort of started, that way. And I do remember you coming. I think the book was My Lady, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And it was legit $1,000 for that manual, like years and years ago. And, it takes a lot to ask another person for help. So I admire someone saying, "Hey, can you help me?" And because you can ask 10 people, right? And you could either be the person that ignores, or you could have a hand in helping someone. And that is my nature. I am probably pretty helpful to a fault, but I do believe in people, and I do believe that people are put in people's lives. And I must have liked what I've seen, obviously coming out of you, and it's funny that you call me savage because you're a savage. You're a genius. Look at you now. And I do remember you sitting outside, leaned up against the car, young, tiny little thing. And you're like, I promise I'll bring it back. I'm going to go photocopy everything. And you know what? I look at it this way. If you never came back with it, it's okay too. It would be whatever it is. But, now you're writing those books. So I'm happy, that I had an impact and even for a minute, just a minute on someone, because I think that is what life is all about.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like, I think that doing things and expecting so much in return, sometimes we do things just to get something. And you were literally just like, hey, I'm here. And like, that to me was just like, I wasn't used to that. Like, someone always wants something, or it's like always like there's a motive. And like, that's basically how we know each other. And she was just like there. And we had connected and kept in touch. And, I was doing an interview with Danielle. Danielle does hair. I always call her by her like Instagram government. And we were both talking about you. And I was like, oh my God, I have to have Odette come on because she made an impact on me. You made an impact on Danielle. And in the climate of today with being an employee-based salon owner, and anyone who follows me or listens to me for a long time knows my trials and tribulations with employee-based salon ownership. And I think that being an employee-based salon owner is an incredible gift. It's an incredible challenge, and it takes an incredible person. So I would just love to have you share your story. And you can go back as far as you want. I have people go back to like childhood or something. Like, you can go as far back as you want. You can start wherever you feel comfortable. And I would love to just have you tell your story. And I'd love to just chime in areas. And if I have any questions, like, I'd love to just give you the floor and just tell it to everybody. So thank you again, everyone, for being here and listening. And Odette, take it away. I'm just so excited to get to know you at a deeper level, like as friends. And I'm just so grateful we're recording and we could share it with so many people.
Thank you so much. Well, I will give you the background that I think made me who I am as far as my work ethic, especially. I decide I'm a first generation American. So my parents are, off the boat from Portugal. English was my second language. It was very important to my parents that I attend college. So when I decided to go to Kaner Tech, I did not go there for hair. I was such a tomboy. Every shop that I entered, I wanted to do auto mechanics, auto body, whatever, you name it. That's what I was going to do. That's what I was going to do. And then I probably decided on hair because I was a girl and maybe I got nervous. And you have to make a decision when you're, I think, a junior or maybe a sophomore. And I loved Kaner Tech, right? But who knows what they want to do at 17, 16, 15, 16, 17. But I, was accepted into the hair program. My father was beside himself. He said, I didn't come to this country so that you could stand all day long and cut hair. He didn't nag me too much about it. But he said, I want you to go to college. So he promised me a party if I graduated from college. So that definitely was, something that I wanted to do for him. And mostly because at the time I really wasn't sure that I would be doing hair the rest of my life. And even when in my senior year, I used to say to my teachers, I'm not going to be a hairdresser. This is just my trade, but I'm going to go to college. And, I guess looking back, I loved doing hair. I loved the competitions, but I didn't like I don't want to say I didn't like the program, but I was a visual. So I wasn't interested as much in the technical. I wanted to just go over to my mannequin, do it, and then, walk away, which used to drive my teachers crazy. While I was a senior, I went to work for a salon in Naugatuck, and I will, can I say his name? Am I allowed to say it?
You can say whoever you want. Okay. Totally. Anybody you want to mention, please go for it.
I'll mention it. His name was Frank DeLeo. And at the time during the 80s and 90s, he was a master cutter, award winning, back when New York Hair Show used to have the awards. And I went to work for him as a receptionist. I used to get paid $5 an hour. And then I would clock out when I became a hairdresser and I would go cut hair, getting paid nothing but commission. So if I did one haircut for 7 hours, that's what it was, at the time. He was ahead of himself as far as systems and software. So I was lucky to be in a place where I wasn't at the typical stereotype of that time that sometimes hairdressers had. So I learned a lot on management and being a very good cutter. I actually started as a barber and then grew from there. So I could straight blade, I could do all of that. And
what a savage. I can't do that. I didn't know that.
Learn on balloons with the shaving cream, sometimes on a leg. Like he was savage, like you say, a hardcore Italian, hard to work for, but I appreciated everything that I learned there. When it was time for me to move on from there, I was then moving to Central Connecticut. I started at Naugatuck Valley Community College because, again, still didn't know what I wanted to do.
NVCC.
Yep. And it was great. Loved it. I went to work for someone named Robin, who owned a salon named La Moda, and she was in Waterbury. Fantastic. Definitely a different vibe working for a woman. I definitely got to see the more maternal side of having a woman, owner. I learned a lot, but I also learned some things that would maybe help me not do later as a business owner. When I decided to buy an existing salon, I had just gotten married. We had just finished building a home. My boss at the time, Robin, wanted to do a spa-like salon, and she was moving a little further away from my town. And it was just something that I didn't want to be a part of for some reason, probably because the vision was changing. And I'm not quite sure. I was actually very happy working for her financially. I can't complain. I made great money without the headaches. So, I can't complain. This salon went up for sale and the owner had passed away. And my father-in-law, who I loved, and we've lost since then, encouraged me, to go look at it. He cut out a little ad and he said, you have to go check it out. I looked in the window. I said, it's so ugly in there. I can't buy this place, but I knew I had to make a decision. So I just decided to buy it, obviously with my husband. I can't give him props because he was my hubby and he encouraged it all the way. And we decided to buy a salon where everyone had exited. So it was just turnkey, ready to go. So
you didn't have the staff to deal with or retrain or re-interview or anything. It was just the salon, the furniture, and the bones.
We had a 52-year-old woman, which at the time seemed so old because I was 24, but she did the little old ladies, and I invited her to stay, and she stayed for many years. So I invited her to stay, and she was like the grandma of the group. The hardest part about opening at the time was having to tell my boss, because I did love her and it wasn't personal. And, she was okay with it, not right away, but she was okay with it. One of the girls who used to work for us had left shortly before I told my boss. And so I didn't tell any clients where I was going. I didn't tell a single client that I was buying a salon. I didn't want any bad karma attached. I figured I was going to pay for my ads and just go from there, So my boss didn't find out from anyone. She found out from me. I told her.
Classic.
I gave her a little notice. I didn't finish out my notice. She didn't want me to stay, which, I get it now. It was okay, whatever. I then, bought it, opened it, and one of the girls who's still with me 21 years later, who had left that salon, called me up and said, okay, what do you have a spot for me? And I literally said to her, listen, I have no idea what I'm doing. Zero idea. So this could go either way. You're more than welcome to come and give me a try. And I was speaking generally. What there were no systems, right? The manual came later. She came to work. I hired another girl shortly, like a few days after that. I hired my cousin to answer the phones, who became a hairdresser for me. And I said, let's do this, right? I ran my ad and the clients started finding us. The first Saturday we were open, because the previous salon was a major walk-in salon, people were walking in thinking that it was the old place and looking at us like, who are you? And they weren't running out. They were sort of like, okay, well, we'll come in. You know, can I book an appointment? Can I come back later? And I turned to the two girls that were there and I said, okay, I think we're going to be okay. Like, it was just this little sign that these people were coming in. I kept the old phone number, which was probably the best thing I could have done. And people just kept, finding us. So that was like the beginning, of it all. It's kind of how the story, it's not glamorous. It's just, it is what it is. And somewhere in there, my father was happy that I was a hairdresser and he was pretty proud of me. He was proud of me even before
But that means a lot, though.
Yeah, definitely. And he's never strayed. I've cut his hair since day one. So, and to this day, he still says I give him the best haircut. So whether he's lying or not, who knows, but it is very cute to have, the support from my parents. And I did graduate college somewhere in there. So I did get that party.
What'd you graduate with?
A business degree in marketing communications.
That's amazing. Like, I love the idea. And Steve and I were talking about this, about our kids. I was like, I'm not fucking paying for college. I said to Steve, and he's just like, if our kids want to be a doctor or something, like, we have to save and pay for college. I'm like, no. They're going to get a trade and they're going to go to business school. He's like,
right,
shut
right.
up. So I think that the trade in business school is like amazing.
Definitely.
Yes. And if you're finding this podcast because of Odette, I'm sorry, I swear a lot. That's just me. I hope I don't offend you.
That's okay.
So you're going to share this and like your friends are going to be like, damn, she's abrasive. Like, who don't know me, but no, I just think that that's great that you did go to college, but you went for something that is going to help you with your salon business. I totally I love that. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. And back to the stereotype and tying into the college, I remember a gentleman saying to me, so you graduated from college and you're still doing this, and honestly, those kind of comments just motivated me.
Yeah,
to run my business a little different.
Yeah, no, totally. I hear that all the time. Like, almost every podcast starts with, yeah, well, my parents weren't supportive, or like, people thought I was crazy. But this industry, and like, my mission is to elevate the beauty industry. And like, what that means is to make, one day I want our parents to be proud to send their kids to cosmetology school.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Well, you're helping that vision tremendously, especially, but I've been around a while, so, things are changing. Right. And, we had a lot of guessing, when I was 24, there was a lot of guesswork. And no matter how much we sought out the information, it wasn't like today where, the information is easily available. Right. And, thanks to people like you who are doing it, they're putting it out there. They're giving up a lot of their time, right, to elevate the industry. And that is what's going to change.
Totally. So you were doing hair, salon owner, your salon's up and running. And how did you guys start to are you still doing hair behind the chair?
I am. So one of the things, because I know, it's a commission based, so I want to make sure that I add in what I believe a commission salon should be. And I love that you offer pretty much everything I'm about to say in a previous podcast that I've enjoyed listening to, where you break down the pros and cons. I wanted to have a salon where people stayed and I had low turnover rate. Have I had turnover? Yes. You can't not have
But your salon seems to have like the same faces and like super consistent. Like your salon doesn't, I mean, I don't know your salon retention
Mhm.
numbers, but like I feel like people stay there and like that is like in or staff retention is something that is a major struggle for employee based. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear what you think a commission salon should be and like how you made your salon like so successful.
Well, I feel like I've heard this before. Take care of your employees, and your employees will take care of you. Um, I am a people pleaser, so I will say that my initial goal behind the chair and owning a salon is a people pleaser, right? I want everybody to love me, so I want to, I want to say that that probably, you know, to a fault, right, is my foundation. I know some people will say, well, you need this and you need that, to run a successful salon, and that's great. But I can't say that that's how I started, because I think I wore my heart on my sleeve, and I think we've related, on this before, where
Totally.
you invest in people, and but I think it comes back to what you're providing for them. My commission, and I don't want to say totally what it is. I feel like I am giving up people's information, but I'm a little higher than usual. I do start my assistants with hourly pay, no matter what, and then when they're ready to fly, into the commission, I do that. Because again, I've been there where I wasn't getting paid hourly and cutting hair and not making any money. We are a legally paid salon and always have
Amazing.
been. Um, there's been times where I've questioned that, but when I first started, I turned to my husband and I said, I want to be able to have a profit and loss statement. I want to be able to look at it and, know the breakdown to everything. And especially, back then it was a big hide your cash world, right? And obviously times have changed, right? Especially post pandemic, people don't even want to touch cash. So, everything, thankfully, the way I did things, I think have allowed people to apply for mortgages and apply for homes, or, second homes, or, everything that they needed to, because they weren't just living, they had something to show a bank.
Totally.
Um,
And that's so important. Like, at GBH, we did cash tips toward the end because that's what they wanted. But to be able to show everything and it really sets you up to win for the future. Like people who hide their cash and who only show a certain amount because they don't want to pay taxes, you go to apply for a mortgage or you go to
right,
apply for a loan or you want to grow or something and they're like, hell no, you don't make any money. But like, and it also drives the industry average salary down. Like people still think hairstylists make 30K or like, I'm sorry, but that's just not like I
right,
guess industry average could be a little lower, not lower than 30, but people aren't showing it. And I think that doesn't it does the opposite of elevating the beauty industry. So you
right,
pay your staff legally, which
right.
is more than a
Right.
lot of employee-based salons can say. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and I've been there. I had bosses who paid both ways, and it definitely pros and cons back then.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
I wanted to provide, and and I don't have a non compete, but I have a policy, right? Because I believe in some sort of structure. I do offer vacation pay or maternity leave, some maternity leave pay, whatever you want to call it, because I wanted people to know that if they needed the time off, or if they needed maternity leave, that they would have some sort of a paycheck coming in. And it's not just the same for everybody. It's based on your productivity, the years you've spent in the salon. So with time and productivity came perks, right? Because it's very easy to be in a certain tier, and then the badasses, like we call them, will always elevate and earn more and deserve more, right? But there are, like me, 10 years into owning a salon, I became a mother. So I understood, my full-time girls, especially this year, I have two full-time girls who are now part-time, because they've got new babies, and, they're not in daycare, and families are helping, and, so they're doing the best they can, but they continue with, earning the perks because of, their dedication. With that, we have, an IRA, I guess you could call it, a retirement fund. We have assistants, like you've said before, assistants cost money, you know. Um, But, I have girls who double book sometimes, and then half the time they don't. So we're still doing a little bit of both, and the girls have a lot of independence. So no one makes them double book. They know where they can, they know when they can't. If they don't feel like it, they don't have to, so there's independence there. But it wasn't always that way. I will say, coming out of the COVID or coming back into the new world, it definitely changes, the mood and the vibe a little bit, so we're kind of reassessing some of the booking too.
Yeah, I mean, it has to change and things have to evolve, you know? So, how do you like when talking about like your salon and being a commission-based salon and having your stylist stay busy and productive, like how would you say like you motivate them or continue to like push that outcome of being a productive stylist? Like, do you do a lot of marketing for them? Do you have like a referral program? Like, how do you get your stylist to like stay busy? And if you have a new stylist, like how does that look? Because I'm sure you've got stylists there 21 years who have been killing it forever, and they've got their
Yeah.
clientele and everything. But like starting out, if I were to come work for you and you were mentoring me and coaching me, like how would that look for me?
Well, I've seen two types of assistants come in. I've seen the type that thinks they're going to cut hair that week, right? They're just going to pick up a scissor and they're going to start immediately. And I don't mean the seasoned new hair, like a seasoned new person. I mean someone straight out of school. I've seen them sort of want to jump right into it. And then I've seen people who are, sort of still nervous. So they definitely start as an assistant. I mean, a true sweeping, shampooing, applying glazes, which then becomes blow drying, then becomes color applications. We use Goldwell predominantly. So learning the Goldwell line, whether they're going to classes or we're teaching them in the salon, it is a must. You know, every so often I will have quiet classes. Sometimes I work with one-on-one. I used to have a ton more of one-on-one training, but now, and I have to acknowledge this, I feel like we're in a strange yet beautiful time. I find that, someone, I have a girl, I'll just say who she is. Her name is Gabby, right? She's great. Like, she is buying her Instagram videos, she's going online, she's signing up for this. And it's refreshing to see someone who is learning from me on a Sunday, right? Because we're doing cutting hands on, but then she's, buying courses here, buying courses there, watching this video, logging onto RBTC, that I have and having them watch, right? And, anything that I've purchased on the like webinars, it's amazing to watch them. And I know they're watching you. I know you are
Oh my
a
God, I love them.
permanently, obviously, and there's no hate, Gina. Like, these are girls who follow and, they're not afraid to say, oh, I was watching this video, I learned this, I learned that. And it's great. And it's refreshing now, right? 21 years in, that they're meeting me halfway. They're proactive in their education, but they're not only learning from me, but they're also watching the seasoned hairdressers. And I'm a little spoiled because some of my seasoned hairdressers are amazing. They're not afraid, especially if someone says, oh, how are you doing that? They're not afraid to teach them and say, this is what I'm doing, and this is why. They respond well to that, so it's not just me. I can't take full credit. I think the culture has become a way that even the clients know it's a learning salon also in the beginning, and they're okay with that. Like, if you do get a newbie and something's not quite right, they know and they feel comfortable, especially based on our emails and the things that they get in-house, right, from our software, that if they're not happy, hey, let us know, we'll fix it, we'll adjust it. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that happens, and I can't take full credit
You
at this
also
point.
have a trusted brand. Like being around for 21 years, like I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error that goes into like, okay, like for me at GBH, we had like 5 new people start at once. So the training, we would train all
Well,
at once because I was so sick of training one person. They're there for 6 months and then they decide like, oh, they don't want to work hard. Like that's
Right.
the thing. Everybody wants all the perks and benefits, but then they realize like, oh, you have to work to get that. And then they're just like, nah. And then they go through the whole training. And it is so incredibly expensive to train people. Like
Right.
just the time it takes out of your schedule when you could be making bread. Like it takes so much time just to train somebody. And then to have your staff train people when they could be making money. And then to pay that person to train. For me at GBH, I was really like, you know what? I'm sick of paying people to learn from me. I want people to pay to learn from me. And I was just like, I'm just not at the place in my career where like I can mentally take this anymore because I was just like, I'm done giving. But I also had no boundaries.
Right.
Was a salon owner 23 years old and like you know me, Odette, that I'm like such a go-getter. Like being a salon owner, like check it off the list and I'm on to the next thing. And I didn't stay. And like one thing I learned in my journey, I'm 29. One thing I've learned so far in my journey that I think has been one of the most valuable business things is you have to focus on the business that you have
Hmm.
and you'll lose it by focusing on the business that you want.
Right.
Like for me, my focus and attention is so powerful and I'll move on to the next thing before the first thing is just right. It's like that
Right.
shiny object syndrome. And I think that a lot of people, because of how much opportunity there is available in the industry, a lot of salon owners who have employees, they forget or they don't know or they never learned or they don't have like the right, idea of like what it actually takes to be a salon owner. So I'd love to talk about that, like what it actually takes, because it's time, attention, it's focus. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to do hair and like try to run the books. It's like, how do you keep these people happy?
Right. And I think you don't always keep them happy, right? I think you can under promise. You can't make too many promises, right? Because a lot of times you know you want to be the best leader, right? You want to be a perfect leader, but it's not always going to happen, right? We wear our heart on our sleeves. You're training 5 people, 3 of them leave, right? And it emotionally sets you back, right? It kind of,
Well, that's why I did 5 people at once because I was
yeah,
like 3 of them are going to leave. And you know how
right,
many lasted? 1.
right. And that's, but that's also when you were a little younger,
Oh
right?
yeah, I was pretty and I'm still like I'm still with employees. Like I'm very blunt and very like keep up with me. You know what I mean? And it's terrifying for some people. Like I'm not easy to work for, and I don't think I ever will be. But then again, like I having a conversation with one of my girls, I was just like, if I'm gonna have you working with me, I want you to go past me.
Right. You want them to show you. I literally will joke around and say to clients, my hairdressers, I want you to steal my clients. If my client is in your chair, you better kill it. You better do it so that you're taking her from me. I want you to, be at that level. And I know that's like kind of weird to say, but I don't want like eyes staring at me. I want everybody busy. I want everybody happy. I don't, it took a long time to get here. I feel like if I look back and think back to some of the I should say some of the girls, like I'll say 2 or 3 girls that I've lost along the years, right? I remember feeling so emotional and it was personal. Oh, I'm so hurt by this. And I had to learn that it wasn't, it was happening for me, not to me. You know what I mean? Have you ever heard that before?
I
Like I
live by
realized,
it. I say it every day, 40 times a day, Odette. I love it.
why I thought back then, oh, that was my team. But looking at my adult version of Odette, I realized they wouldn't have fit the adult version of Salon Odette. And my team right now currently represents that. Even my newbies, right, I feel like just old souls, like they just kind of fit there, and um I could be blunt. I could have high expectations, but I do show up. And that's one thing is if you're a business owner, no matter what that is, whether that's rental, whether that's suite owner, whatever it is, you have to show up. If you're not showing up, it rubs off, and we saw that even coming out of the pandemic, right? Coming out of, well, whatever lockdown, I guess we're still in the pandemic, but, I had to put my game face on, right? And, go do it so that others could feel ready to do it too. And if you're not showing up, I think it's going to fail. It's going to add to, and it, like if, when I was having children, right? Even though I was gone, I had to still be there, right? Even if I'm not physically there, I can't pretend that I don't have a business. So it's extra work. And when you become, if you take on motherhood while owning a business, it adds a different level of balance, right? And it's difficult, it's hard.
Yeah, I'm writing stuff down over here. And I would love to stop and talk about showing up. Like, what is showing up? Because I wrote down a few things. Like, I wrote down for showing up. And I love that you said, like, you have to show up, because if you expect other people to be there and you have that high expectation and that high standard, like for me, I have that high expectation and high standard in everything. Like in
Yeah.
everything. And I know that can be a lot for people. I totally get that. So I can't do people a disservice by not showing up myself. And like to me, like two things I wrote down were presence. So
Mm-hmm.
like when I'm there, I'm there. And when I'm teaching them, I'm engaged with them and I'm like there for them, even if it's not like in person 24/7, but they know they can call me, and that trust between one and the other to say, like, you can call me, like, you can call on me. I'm here for you,
Right.
and being
Right.
present in that relationship. And then the other thing I wrote down was being in a healthy state. So by putting
Mm-hmm.
myself first, my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, I'm a very spiritual person. I know that you and I like have like connection, like
Yeah.
connected, like, on other things, like just like kind of knowing that like, the right people will come into your life. And, that's that healthy state of being like, I'm going to show up here, not a toxic human being.
Right.
And I
Right.
love that you said, like, going back even a couple minutes ago when you were saying, like, when you were first starting with your salon ownership, you were just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, I like to show up with my team, like, very real, to be like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not perfect, and like making amends right away. Like, I was venting to one of my artists the other day about like a bunch of shit that had nothing to do with her. It was all about the salon. It was all about this bullshit that like I stopped and I was just like, Alexandra, I'm so sorry. I was like, I should not be venting to you about this. And like, I'm a human. Please excuse my defects. Like, I'm so sorry that I like just dumped on you. Like, you don't deserve that. And she's like, no, I'm always here for you. And I was like, yeah, but like, that's kind of like a boundary thing I'm working on. And I'm a human being. And I'm so sorry that like, you don't deserve to like, you have that like thrown into your day. I hate giving my stylist the stress of the owner. Like, I feel like if you're going to put the stress of the owner on your stylist, why would they not just go be an owner? I feel like that's how a lot of
Right.
people lose their team, is they put so much stress on them that has nothing to do with them, and they don't get paid enough to deal with the stress and trials and tribulations of being an owner.
Right. And I think you're going to have two kinds of people. I think you're going to have the person who's like, oh, Gina, she's being so dramatic. Odette, she's so dramatic. She got that right. And then you're going to have the other extreme, right? Where they're going to look at you and they're going to say, okay, I can tell she's in a moment, right? And because you've shared before how you're feeling, that one person, right? Because you know who they are, they're going to come help you pull back out of it, right? They're going to be there for you. And you know what? Opening yourself up and being vulnerable is worth it, to make that one connection. Because you're going to have different seasons of your life, right? There was the 10 years before I had kids, you know, there, the beginning when you start to have kids, right? When your business could be thriving, your personal life is a shit show, right? And then your personal life could be thriving, and then it's different seasons, and you have to allow yourself grace, and you have to allow your stylist grace too. And I've now come out of a 10-year window where I was having the kids, and they're a little older now, but you see your staff going through that, and so you have to make yourself relatable. When they say to you, I can't work days now, it's going to be nights and Saturdays and Sundays, right? Of course, everything is always a place of yes. Now it's a place of, you know, offering advice because I've already been there.
Mm-hmm.
I
You're
I
like their
used to,
mentor. You're their mentor and their role model. Like, you've been through it.
and I hate to tie it into someone on social media, but I feel like I have to. I used to follow this artist, and I was a big geek, right? And she's based in Connecticut. Loved her, obsessed, right? When she started following me, I was even more, excited. And I started following her, and I was super impressed and writing things down, and I'm not afraid to say, DM, right? I loved that. I loved what you had to offer. I am not afraid to give credit when I'm learning something or when I took a little bit of this. It's, you know, I believe in that. And that's how I was raised. But I remember when she dropped this bombshell and she admitted that she had not been actually cutting hair behind the chair for almost a year. And I remember being pissed. You know, I know that sounds awful, but I was kind of angry because I was setting these expectations, right, of how my life should be as a mom, and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And then I said, oh my God, I love hair and I love putting my hands in hair and I love being attached to the client. Am I doing 60 hours like I was 20 years ago, even 15 years? Not. But I remember being, you know, super disappointed because I was looking to someone on Instagram that, and not wanting to copy, but trying to get my balance and realizing, you know what, I couldn't, that wasn't like the Bible, you know? And I realized, you know what, I can't look to that. I can only look to what I have in our bubble. And I can only speak to that, not this person who suddenly said, well, I haven't been cutting hair. We became unrelatable at that moment.
You know,
Know?
I can
So
totally
that's
relate
how
to
I
that.
feel.
Sorry, you cut out. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Um,
No, go for it.
like I can totally relate to that. And Instagram is so weird. I got where I am today. I've got 200 and something thousand Instagram followers, right? And people are just like, "Oh my God, you're famous." And I'm like, like, you know, like it's
You are.
just me, you know? But like the thing is though, I worked for 10 years being consistent and doing Instagram as a full-time job. There has not been a time in 10 years that I haven't been doing 20, 30, 40 hours a week. It changes, but most of the time between 30 and 40 hours additional to my business marketing on Instagram. Like I love marketing. It's one of my
Right.
favorite passions. Like I love to market. And I love to sell
You're a
myself because
marketing genius. You're a marketing genius.
oh, thank you. I love you. But like, I literally, thank you for saying that because I do feel like I've built an incredible brand and reputation, but like, it's not an accident. You know what I mean? It's not like I got like a lucky break and I had all of these big brands posting me and shit like that. It was literally strategy. Like, I used a very specific strategy to get where I am. And then I built a core audience of the right people. And then I gave them what they wanted over and over and over. They want this. That's all they got. And then, oh, you want this? This is what you got hair
Right.
videos, pricing, lives, my life. It moved up as like the people told me what they want. And the more real you get, the more unreal it's going to get. It's a big advice for marketing. But what I have to say about Instagram is that it drives me crazy. I can't spend a lot of time on it anymore. I compare myself to others. And you know what is really weird? Like now everybody's an educator. Everybody's an influencer. Everybody's got something they're selling. Everybody has a course. And I think there's a space in this world for everybody. But I think that one of the big things that we have to think about is how much are you sitting there listening and how much are you executing? Because it's super easy to fill your head with all of these ideas. And I think that you and I, Odette, like starting out, like you're older than me, you've been doing it a little bit longer than me. And you were saying in the beginning, like we didn't, it's more accessible now, the education. The education is so accessible now for free. All of my stuff is out there for free. You just got to find it, right? It's like everything's out there for free, but nobody's executing it. Like
Right.
some people are, but they're not spending the time to actually like they didn't have to work so hard to get it so that they're not going to be like, "Oh my god, I took this $5,000 business class. Let me stop everything, focus on this amazing business class and implement and implement and implement and implement." And like for me as an educator and coach, like just as a salon owner and as a stylist perspective, like how you were saying, like you were let down by that person because you were kind of comparing or, you know, and
Yeah.
I do that a lot. Like for me, I feel the same way because I'll look at what someone else is doing. I'm like, should I be doing that? I can't, I got to turn it off. I have to turn
Right.
it off. I'm like, oh my God, this person is doing this. I can do that. Okay, let me think of how I can do that. And then I've got like my mental real estate taken up. Like you only have so much bandwidth to even know so many people. So like for
Right.
me, I had to set a boundary with it. And you know, really how you said like I got to focus in my own bubble. Like stay in your lane and
Right.
find people you relate to and everything, but it's really scheduling time to be on your phone and not using it as something that you're constantly relied
Right.
upon. But I can totally relate. You know, I've been let down by a lot of people too, because, and I had 3 amazing conversations today. One with you, one with this girl, Farhana, Baliaz. She's on Instagram and I've been following her, and we finally got to talk like face to,
Mhm.
it was like we talked face to face, and it was just like, she's really cool. And then I got to talk to Britt Ziva today. 3 incredibly strong women who I am not competing with, who we can be open and honest with each other and have a real relationship and be there for one another and support each other and elevate each other. I would prefer to have 3 people than 300 people on my Instagram who I don't even know, like, they just make me feel like shit.
Right. Right. It's a terrible, it's a terrible way to be, and but I will say this, right? As if I may, as someone who started in the 90s, right? I will say that back then it was very evident when someone up the street was knocking this person or that person, right? And I have, I've met people who've said, "Thank you for saying welcome to Middlebury," because I've run into other hairdressers and they haven't said that, and I'm like, well, why didn't they? But I think if you're just a jerk inside, it carries over, right, to who you are when you're running a business, right? So if you're nice to people and you're welcoming and you don't knock this one and don't knock that one, I think it comes back to you. You attract what you put out, and that doesn't mean we're
Yes.
going to be perfect, right? That's not normal. It's not normal to be perfect. You can't show up and have your A game. You have to learn and be better. Everyone needs to grow through mistakes and lesson learned, and sometimes not being your best, right? But I think in this, now that I've seen what some of social media is, right, the support, and even if it's just clicking like, or people, I've had people say to me, "Thank you for always liking my pictures, thank you for seeing me," right? And that's such a powerful statement, right? And it's sad at the same time, right? And I was on a plane recently and I was watching someone just scrolling through pictures and not clicking like, right, just scrolling. And I sort of laughed to myself because I literally just will click like on everything, because I just feel like, spread that love, just keep spreading it, and I think it's so silly that she's just scrolling, and maybe what I'm doing is not cool, but I think it's just old fashioned, love, like just showing a little bit of support.
Totally. It's love and kindness. And I think that if that is what we all want and need as human beings, and having that in your values is just going to make your life more beautiful.
But I do see the beauty of the current state of the industry as a much more supportive and loving, and definitely, you know, defying those old stereotypes, and I do feel, even like something that you're doing is sharing, and I'm seeing it even in more recent posts from my team, right? They're influenced by influencers, and they're suddenly sharing, "Oh, I did this or I did that," and it makes my heart proud, because I can't, even though I'm trying to foster a certain culture, I'm watching this social media driven team, especially my newer stylists, become very motivated, and they're sharing, and they're becoming part of that world, and it is beautiful to see stylists supporting stylists. I think there's a reason that hashtag, is growing in, whatever numbers, because it's a real thing, and at the end of the day, we're all doing hair, we're doing the same exact thing, right? It's everyone needs their hair done, so we're not vying for people, right? Everyone on this planet needs their hair done. There's enough to go around, and it should be an industry where we're supporting, one another, and we're learning, because we are visual, right? So we're using our visual to teach, and it's important to continue that, no matter where this industry leads. It's important to continue that, especially now more than ever. As you say, the commission-based salons are, they're changing, but those people coming out of hair school are going to need this new generation of hairdressers to learn from, especially if the commission-based salons are, far and few.
Yeah, totally. So like everything you say. Yes, I'm agreeing with you 100%. And it's something that we should all be thinking about and just spreading that love and kindness. And I love Lady Gaga. I don't know if you know, but if you don't now, you
Yeah.
know. But like I love her so much. And like one of her biggest values is love and kindness. And for
Mhm.
me, when I was like in treatment, reevaluating my values and reevaluating myself and like figuring out my life, like my values were all over the place and love and kindness being number one. I flip flop between health and love and kindness. Like, because if I don't put myself first, I can't be kind. But then again,
Right. No,
like,
you can't. If your health isn't intact, you can't
yeah,
expect to give and receive
you
the
just
other.
can't. Like, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, I know that that's like a common saying, but it's true. Like, you can't, like, I always had like making an impact or like growth as number one. But if that comes before you, like, it doesn't matter if you're dead. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like you can't have
Right.
this impact if you're dead, And
Right.
I always say like without me, I'm not here. So like I have to put myself first and that's how I can set those boundaries. And it's really hard. And I still say yes. I booked a 5:30 tonight. Color on a Tuesday. I already said yes to my girl Kim or my girl
Yeah.
Nicole. I was like, okay, I'll do your hair at 5:30 on a 5 on a Tuesday. And I booked a 5:30 and I'm just like, who else wants to come in? Cause I'm just like, you know, but anyways, having love and kindness and health at the number one and really putting yourself first, being kind and leading out of love, I think for our industry in general, I think that that's beautiful advice, Odette. And I have one topic I want to talk about because it keeps coming up as we're talking. And I want to just point it out blatantly because I
Uh,
think that, and then I have like three questions that I
okay.
want to ask you. The first thing I want to talk about is it is clear to me you're a successful salon owner. You have had an impact on me. You have people in your salon who stay. Many salon owners don't have that and they don't know what they're doing wrong. And, I think that something that you've shared multiple times in different ways through this conversation is you have an abundance mindset. It's obvious. Like you have an abundance mindset. You've said multiple times like different phrases and I can't quote them exactly and I don't want to say random words. But what does abundance mindset mean to you? Because it seems like you are just open to what's coming to you. There's enough for everyone. Like he said, stylist supporting stylist, like everybody needs their hand. There is enough for everybody. And I just feel like that speaking with you for the past hour or so, it's like that is just a clear thing that makes Odette is the abundance. And you're not in that scarcity, me mindset. You're in abundance mindset. Even 10 years ago for me, you weren't clutching that book saying, I hope she fails. You were like, here.
Yeah.
And that changed my life and that elevated the beauty industry. And that is like an amazing thing. So let's talk about abundance mindset.
I feel like that kind of makes me want to cry a little bit.
It's amazing.
Well, I feel I I feel blessed to, and maybe, maybe it's something that I grew up with, I feel like, I definitely learned that as a struggling first generation American, watching my parents go from having nothing and not speaking the language to having, plentiful, but also giving back. I watched that. I watched my parents, even, and I have to say quietly, giving back and helping others, and I feel like that was part of my core.
And you say quietly giving back, like they're not giving a sandwich to a homeless person and filming it and putting it on Instagram.
No, no,
Yeah, that's something like quietly, not everybody needs to know.
yeah, yeah,
I
and
just wanted to throw that in. Sorry, Odette. It's
no,
just very
no,
like,
I think it's important, that everyone, the whole saying, your character is what is who you are when no one's looking, and I think that's really important. And I
title of the
very,
podcast.
you know, I care,
Thank you for the title of the podcast.
you know,
I'm always trying to find it.
I think, I think it's important, I think I've had plenty of moments, and I will say this truthfully, in running a business, right? Where over the years, there are things that I could have done selfishly and taken care of me first. And I can think of years where it felt like I should have, right? Maybe, um, when I was working a little less, when I was pregnant or having a baby. And then, there were certain years where I probably could have been a little more selfish with, but it's just not who I am, and my husband will tell you that, like when we sit down and do finances, he will, when COVID was hitting, right? And I'll give you this example. And I was worried the girls were not getting unemployment, right? I was forcing my husband, we have to apply for this PPP. We have to do this. The girls have to get paid. I was very worried about that. And they know it. And I know they know it, I'm blessed to know that their hearts felt that I was worried about them also, and I remember, going through all of that and my husband saying, and I wasn't worried about myself because again, I thought it was a 2-week lockdown. So who knew it would be a 3-month situation, but I was very worried about them and, nothing was going to change. I wasn't going to not worry about them because I was worried about them for 21 years. I'm very much driven by making sure my team is happy. And I do feel that my giving back, I felt them giving back, and this is, and I speak as a team. I feel that when they feel my appreciation and they know I'm a big baby. Like I cry at things, like I'm very emotional. They know I love to help people. They know it. And sometimes they'll tease me and say, don't go there, don't go doing that. They'll hear that I'm about to do something crazy, like giving back, but that's in my nature. I feel like it's a ripple effect. I feel like even when I started the salon, it was important that I gave back, and as a team, we did breast cancer stuff. I know you've done many things and continued to do so over the years and still did, even during the pandemic. You were doing the railroad thing, the
Operation Underground Railroad. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh my God, I love that organization. So I love that. And I know that people don't get it, but like abundance is giving back. It is a ripple effect, right? And it is also your team seeing you do that because they then start to give back, and, they count their blessings and they give back to breast cancer. I was on the board of Safe Haven, domestic and sexual assault.
Mm-hmm. I've always admired that about you with the Safe Haven and the stuff that you've done for women in Connecticut.
I didn't set out to go on the board. I didn't set out to be on a board. In fact, when I joined it, I wasn't quite sure what I was doing there. Someone suggested I join it. And then I realized, there's a lot of people that have different kinds of like PTSD, whether that's, verbal trauma, all kinds of things fall under that category. And I realized that one became a near and dear to me because, it's more relevant than we think. It's doesn't affect just one type of person. It affects children, women, especially. So it's, I resigned from the board, but I'm still, helping out. But, I also think, everyone has different levels of wealth, right? What they want to achieve, I bet if I had to ask you, yours is not monetary. I feel like yours, you thrive on giving back, right? And teaching and educating. And I'd be willing to guess that you didn't start out to make the money. I don't think that's what.
I mean, I love money, but as much money as I make, it doesn't hit the same as when you make an impact. And it took a lot for me to if I reach this level, I'll be happy. It's really making that true impact. And for me, I didn't realize, but my values were out of line, and values are the key to everything, I believe. Our values control our lives, and it depends. Like my value for significance and certainty and growth, those are amazing needs and everything, but they're not values, they're needs. And the needs of the spirit, I work with the Tony Robbins coaching method that I've been working with for a while. And the needs of the spirit are growth and contribution. And the abundance mindset, when you can contribute and give beyond yourself, that is what is a need of the spirit. And that's where we find true bliss and happiness. And it took me a really long time to experience, I want to be this person. What I'm doing is I can't be that person. So I had to say, I want to be this person, and I'm committed to being this person who's going to give back, who's going to be supportive, who's going to uplift others, who's going to give in a way that's going to help people change their lives. And I'm not going to be scarcity. I'm not going to be giving, but expecting something in return. That was something I grew up with. you
Right.
know, that was like from like that was just like, oh,
Right.
you know, and that was just something like, I have to do this to get this. And I, as a leader, taking people to Disneyland and expecting their loyalty,
Right.
that's not what you're talking about when you say your generosity and your giving spirit. You're not putting on a show.
No.
You're a generous heart. It's not just like handing stuff out and expecting, you know. So when I decide I want to be this person, if I continue to do these things and I'm not getting there, like I have to change. And I have to say the last year, 2 years, um, having to change is calling myself out, failing, being mad at myself because I know better, and really just sticking to the path. And it's not perfect.
Right.
You know, it's just not. And I love that you talk about seasons and like you give yourself grace. Well, the past 10 years I've been doing this. And then the 10 years before that, it's like, wait, it's a journey. Like it's
Right.
never going to be done. It's never going to be perfect. And things are always going to be changing.
And change is okay. I think, having a business for 21 years, you opened yours at a time where personally, I have to agree, I didn't know who I was from 24 to 27.
I had
You
no
know,
idea what I was doing either. Like I knew, but I didn't have the emotional regulation and the
right.
boundaries to
And
lead.
most, and so you took on quite a weight, right? And you wore your heart on your sleeve. And, with that came hurt, right? And you think loyalty and all of that. But you know what? You own it, right? And again, different seasons, right? You're in one season now. I could talk to you in 5 years. You'll be in a different mindset. You could talk to me in a year and we could be having a completely different conversation. But, especially listening to podcasts, right? My favorite thing is listening to podcasts. And I'll be honest, Gina, the minute you asked me to be on, I was like, I better do my homework and listen to your podcast because I follow a lot of people that I love and they're not hair related. I feel like sometimes I need to take a break from the hair because I am in a
Same.
different mindset, right? I'm a mom, right? And I'm not a perfect mom, and that's okay. I'm a wife and I'm not a perfect wife, and that's okay. And I'm not a perfect owner. And I don't look at anyone like in my salon that they need to be perfect, right? I believe in offering grace and giving grace, So, different seasons and different times in your life, I feel like you know, I'm in a good place, right? But 7 months ago, coming out of wondering if this hassle of opening a business after COVID, it drained me, and listening to other people and listening to your watching people relate, be relatable, like you're coming out of a pandemic, having to open a business. For me it was a little different. It wasn't just me. I had to have 13 people be on board with coming back, and thankfully they were, and they were ready. And it was not great, like the shutdown. It was not great. At the end of the day, I still love hair. I love putting my hands in hair. I will always cut hair, no matter where life takes me. I knew when we reopened and I put my hands into someone's hair, I almost started crying.
Yeah.
You know,
I could sense the
um,
emotion. It's like it's an emotional thing.
So if you asked me 8 months ago, like, would I be in a better mindset? I have to be honest. I feel like in the last, 4 months, I'm coming out of that, rug pulled out from you. 27 years of cutting hair and someone telling you can't cut hair is a big deal,
Yeah, and it was a horrible year. I talked to my accountant this morning. He's like, "Yeah, 2020 was a bad year for you." And I'm just like,
Mm,
me and everybody else. It just, you know what, Control Alt
yeah.
Delete. But we all learned so much. And I'm glad I
Yeah.
caught you for this podcast at a better time too, because, I feel like this conversation has just been like amazing. And I think that salon owners feel more lonely than not. And I really think that having salon owner friends and putting yourself out there and really trying to align yourself with people who understand and who you not only look up to, but somebody who's like doing it and who's not perfect and not putting on a show,
No,
you
no
know?
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're amazing, Odette. And I just want to close out our brilliant episode because this is just beautiful with 3 questions that I just kind of was like jotting down. I wrote abundance mindset and I wrote letting go. I feel like that's a huge part of it. It's just like letting go of the outcome. And if in just accepting that nothing is permanent, like we kind of were talking about that earlier. But the three questions I have, what advice would you give to a new stylist coming in? Like, what advice would you give to a new stylist in this day and age?
Well, I think coming in with an open mind, um, realizing that if you are going into a place where there is a boss slash salon owner, I would look for someone that you know the culture of the salon is already intact, right? Um, Asking a lot of questions, right? Being open minded, not being scared, right? As you know, having how do I say this? I have high expectations, right? I could be scary, right? I have high expectations. I do expect a lot from a lot of people, but I'm going to give you a lot, right? So if someone is coming in, they better be open minded. They better also ask a lot of questions, right? And if the owner doesn't have things that to offer and they're not in a good place, I think it's probably not going to be a good fit. If they're just if they're 20 years in and they're still winging it, probably not a good idea, right? But if they have a system in place and they have a lot to offer, especially as a newbie, and because you don't want to go into a place that doesn't have things to offer. You want to have something to stand on, hourly, as you say in your previous podcast, training, all of the things, and a good team, because you want to be, especially as a new person, you want to be okay with the culture of the salon, especially if you are young, because it could be scary if it's not a non-toxic place, So I think as a newbie, open mind, ask a lot of questions, follow them, interview the boss too, interview the owner. I love that. I love when people ask questions. I think it shows that person has also a game plan and, who they are intact.
I love it. I love that. Another question I had, advice for a new salon owner.
Don't borrow the manual from Odette because it's old now. Definitely, reach out to other salon owners like you did. Definitely, I think someone like you who has, the available tools, definitely invest in that for sure. Attend courses, right? There's lots of management courses available, but also just reaching out and asking someone, have a game plan, even if it means post-it notes, even if it means, a board on the wall, have a plan of how you're going to conduct and adjust as you go. Learn from it, adjust it biannually, yearly. I didn't have a policy in place the first year. It probably took 5 years, and things changed. What was okay the first 10 years was not okay. Definitely don't ignore the warning signs when you hire a team member. That is not great. And definitely cultivate a good team to attract more and more. And you know what? If you lose someone, it's not personal. It's not always personal. Especially if you are putting your best out there, it's not always personal. And let go and continue on. And that means training. You have to put the work in. You have to have new people ready, and because things will happen, people will leave, and they're allowed to fly also.
Love that. And now my last question for you is, what advice would you give for a seasoned salon owner who's burnt out and at the end of their rope?
Reassess, because you don't want that rubbing off on your other hairdressers, and if that means changing your business model, you figure out, do you love hair? Do you not want to be a salon owner? Maybe sell the salon to someone in the salon who owns it, reassess, reevaluate, figure out what's happening, take a break, take a vacation, especially this year. I say to the girls, they're like, I need to take a vacation. I'm like, take the vacation, and burnt out could have a lot of different meanings. Sometimes it could mean they're done owning a salon, hire a manager, sell it, become a chair rental. You have to assess where you're at. Sometimes it means less clients. Sometimes it means less clients charging more, less days doing more. A full reevaluation has to happen. And sometimes it's not just hair podcasts or hair books. It's just, where they at in life. They could be emotionally tired and it's coming into the workplace.
Totally. That's great advice, Odette. This has just been an amazing time to catch up. And I'm so grateful for your time. And I always will look up to you as a mentor. I think that, what you're doing is amazing. And your salon has like the best reputation in Connecticut, employee base. Like you guys are amazing. You've been around forever and your people are always the same. You know what I mean? People there, like consistency. I think that that's huge. And that's something that a lot of salon owners look up to and want. Like we all want our staff to stay and we all want to give them what they need to be a part of our team for forever, but nothing's permanent, but it's just like a really great, example that you set, and you're a great role model. And I thank you for being there for me, when you didn't have to be. And when, it was just kindness of your heart. And I think that that's just who you are. And I'm grateful to know you. And I'd love for you to share with everybody any final thoughts you have and then where to find you and how to reach out.
Well, you can find me Salon Odette. That's my Instagram. I am happy to help anyone. Just reach out. I'm happy to give you my number, my email, talk, FaceTime. I'm happy to help at any given time. But I have to be honest, thank you for allowing me to tell my story as someone who has been around a while and making me still feel kind of cool.
You're cool. I love you.
Because, I am 40 something. So it is kind of cool to still be seen,
I see
because I'm still trying to be cool and I'm still trying to be relevant, as you youngsters say. And I am learning a lot from people like you. And I love watching you grow. And, I can't say that I'm not learning from you, young lady. So I can't wait to watch you, to see where you're going. And I have always said that girl is a marketing genius. And you know what? You give a lot of yourself and you are relatable. So stay that way because it's working.
Will do. I hope I can honor all of my mentors because I wouldn't be the person I am if it weren't for the people who believed in me and who saw me. So I'm really grateful for you, Odette. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening. Please reach out to her and I hope y'all have an amazing day. The Gina Bianca podcast is brought to you by the Network Mastermind. Mastermind is a group of industry professionals passionate about education, growth, and community. Mastermind includes weekly coaching sessions on Zoom, support from our amazing community, and beauty industry education that is abundant, high quality, and super relevant to the industry today. If you want to learn more about Mastermind, please visit thenetworksalon.com. Hope to see you there. Thank you for listening to the Gina Bianca podcast. This episode is produced by Alora Media.